This meeting is being recorded.
Bertrell, what do you think about the coming elections in politics?
It's going to be an even bigger shit show than 2020 because now you got DeSantis, Trump. You know he's gonna run again. You know Biden, of course, gonna run again. He's the president. He has to. I don't know.
Well, yeah, Biden's definitely gonna run, but it's just gonna be covered up through a lot of advertising. I always used to think he might croak halfway through, and then Kamala Harris would take over, but then that means there would have to be another vice. So technically, Harris is running the show and not Biden, and that kind of makes things really weird because you kind of know Harris as being a subtle right-wing candidate who labels herself as a Democrat. Just remember, she's a prosecutor, and she has very much the same values as the Bush family does. The issue is she's just hiding the fact behind that she's a woman, I guess, Indian American, and but again, I'm pretty sure if she ran as a Republican, she wouldn't be successful. But being a Democrat, it's a better power move. So I really think that's really behind the Biden regime, is the subtle George Bushian fake Democrat party.
Yeah, like I'm not sure who's going to run on the Democrat side. It's too early to tell at this point.
It's going to be Biden again, but again, if he dies halfway through, then it's going to be Harris and whoever, or just why would Biden, who's going to replace Cory Booker? It seems a little too random. But yeah, for Republicans, you could say DeSantis. I think he might throw his hat in the game. Trump will just be there just for extra money. But it could be Marco Rubio. I don't even know. It could be like someone you're not thinking about at the current moment in time. I'd say a lot.
Could be maybe Lauren Boebert or Major Taylor Greene.
It should be later this year. You'll start seeing people by saying, Trump was the first to say, I'm running for president. But I think when we get to the summer of 2023, we're definitely going to have more candidates that will say, I'm going to be running for Republican. I'm Republican. You're going to have an in war with Republicans, the same you kind of had a decade ago with Herman Cain, Michelle Malkin. Michelle Malkin, no, not Michelle. It's Michelle Bachmann or something. I forgot their names. I forgot Michelle Malkin, Michelle Bachmann. 10 years ago when you had Herman Cain, R.I.P.
Oh God, he was so fucking goofy. The 999.
It's hard to imagine that he was running the 999 plan a decade ago. And
funny thing about that. I think he stole one of his speeches from the Pokemon movie. Like he quoted it and people made fun of him for it.
I've heard goofy. I kind of like Herman Cain, but it's whatever. He went the way of Bill Cosby, so that's why he was canceled forever.
Yeah. Plus, Godfather's pizza is mediocre.
Never
not
had
the
it.
worst pizza, but it's not the best either. It's just really mediocre.
Like CC's Pizza or Sbarro's or whatever.
Or like Little Caesars. It's okay if you don't really got anything for money.
Little Caesars I would say Little Caesars right now is a little better than Pizza Hut because of the location wise and its success. But you're right. It's not like you want to get Little Caesars or a quality pizza. But Godfather Pizza sounds like it's just airplane food or something. You're in the airport and it's the only monopoly there or something.
Yeah, or like Chuck E. Cheese's pizza. God, Chuck E. Cheese pizza. It makes Little Caesars look good. It's
been more than 15 years, 16, 17 years since I had Chuck E. Cheese pizza. I'm curious, though, about it.
Yeah, there's always fights. Oh, there he goes.
All right. Ray's on?
Yeah.
Should we start over?
No, we can just add some more to it,
All right, cool. So we almost got Ray on.
Yeah, his audio's connecting.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I had a nice day today,
How nice was it?
It was okay. It's not like I met a rock star or anything, but just exercise. It was okay.
I just went out, had Nation's Giants Burgers, Daly City. I'm in Westlake. That's always
Yeah,
fun.
that has to be a regional thing because I don't think I've seen
Oh,
them
it's
anywhere
definitely
else.
regional. There's like only two in the Bay Area, and then it's like all over East Bay.
Are their burgers really that big?
It's okay, not the biggest. I would say the same size as Five Guys, but a little more.
I like Five Guys. My only problem with them is that they're too expensive compared to the other burger places.
Overrated for sure. Peanut oily kind of taste. That's well. Besides, you have In-N-Out Burger, and In-N-Out Burger is the Cali favorite.
Yeah, but we don't have In-N-Out Burger where I'm at. We got Five Guys and Red Robin, and we got
Red Robin. Yeah, Red Robin, definitely.
yeah, we got a dang, what's that other place? We got Culver's, which sells like butter burgers.
Culver's is actually unique. That's like Wisconsin brand butter.
Yeah,
Butter
we also
Culver's is really good.
we also got Hardee's, but I think they just recently closed that down.
Yeah, Carl's Jr. or Hardee's. But yeah, Culver's.
Oh, we also got Whataburger. That's like a
Yeah.
Texas burger joint.
Yeah, it's like
regional.
Texas South. Yeah, what I had it once. Pretty good Whataburger.
I mean, their burgers and fries are pretty good, especially when you got it on like the toast, the Texas toast. That's delicious.
Sounds good.
You ever been to Texas? I have like once.
Passed through it. I've unfortunately have touched Louisiana. Unfortunately, I've
You been to
fortunately
Louisiana?
been to New Orleans. So
Did you go during Mardi Gras? That's the best time to go.
it was years ago. It was more like a family thing, but it was really bleak near Avery Island.
Yeah, I tried to get Jim Gold to come on. On the podcast.
That would be sick. That would be
Yeah,
pretty funny. Well, what's he say?
yeah, he wasn't really interested.
It sounds like him. Yeah. Well, he should come on. You should just shoot the shit and be like, "Yo, here's the link." He'll come on. He'll just have to roll the dice.
Oh, he said, "Oh, there you are."
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
We got Ray
All
on.
right. Oh, should I ask a question or?
Yeah, just go with it.
Okay. So Ray, what inspired your art?
What inspires my art?
Yeah.
Oh, desperation and obsession.
I mean, those are good inspirations. I think that's the same thing that inspired like Robert Crumb like a while back.
Wait, let me adjust my audio.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right, I can hear you better now.
Oh, you said that desperation and obsession like inspired your art.
Yes.
What? That's great. I mean, I like your unique art style. It kind of reminds me of, I guess, like a ketamine trip or something like that.
I wouldn't know.
Me neither. I've never did psychedelics, but I've saw visuals on the internet and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I have a psychedelic consciousness, if that may help.
That sounds cool. And what was his name? John Ice Nihel. I'm probably not pronouncing his name right, but he said that you're a pretty unique individual.
John, yeah. I worked with him. I was the cameraman for Manson family movies.
Yeah,
The film that he did way back.
Yeah, I think that was the 80s or something. Or was it the 90s? I don't remember.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I also know, dang, what was that other person who worked with him? It was like that drag queen. She used to hang out with like RuPaul back in the day.
Oh, the one that died?
She died? I thought she was still living.
The skinny one?
Wait, this one was
looked
black.
Kind of looked like an AIDS victim or something.
Oh, no, I'm talking about another one. This one is black.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Never met that one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but John's a unique guy. Like, um, did you? How was your childhood like? Was it average or kind of unique?
I was a little bit obsessed with aliens.
This sounds cool. Like, did you ever read like any UFO literature or conspiracy theory stuff?
Yeah, I mean, after I actually saw a UFO, I got more interested in it.
Man, that sounds awesome. I mean, I've never had like a I've never had like a mystical experience before, but it must have been awesome.
It wasn't mystical at all. It was very scientific. Of course, once I verified that they actually exist, then that made a big difference.
Oh, wow.
I
So
mean, you
how?
know, actually seeing one, an actual alien,
Wow, that's awesome. I wonder how come they
with
don't really.
witnesses in broad daylight in Berkeley, California, at the Berkeley flea market.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I wonder how come they don't visit us as much as that we want them to. Like they could
Oh,
save
they
the world.
do. They're, they like to visit dense areas, dense population areas where there's a lot of people and a lot of things going on. But that's mainly the ones that can pass for human, like the Nordics.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like the tall blonde people.
Yeah, they're the ones that look most human. You would never see a gray walking the streets of Berkeley. Of course,
Yeah,
they have what would you call it? Uh, Areas where they can live and not be detected. So, so that even if you do see them walking around, you won't know where they live, even though they're living on Earth. You wouldn't be able to follow them. And
I mean,
since we're talking about multi-dimensional beings that are capable of disappearing, then that that makes it pretty impossible.
wow, that's awesome. So, do you still live in Berkeley or?
No,
Uh,
not
well,
now.
yeah, they say California is becoming almost unlivable. With the homelessness and the expensive stuff and everything. I don't even know how regular people can still live there.
There are no regular people.
No.
Everybody's been changed.
No. Wow. Oh, so I'd like to ask, how'd you meet John?
Berkeley flea market.
Oh,
No, actually, the very first time I put a notice up at a bulletin board at a laundromat, and he saw it, and he and his friend decided to come to our meeting of the Cosmic Brain Trust. That was the organization that was, we were publishing underground comics back then. Mainly, let's see, I'm supposed to be prepared. Oh yeah, this one. Cosmic Circus. That was this. That was that's not the first issue. This is the first issue.
Wow, I like the artwork.
Yeah. And my style changes a lot.
I mean, yeah, underground comics is nice. Like I remember like reading like Robert Crumb when I was like, I think I was like in middle school or something.
Yeah, I did a satire, like a parody of Robert Crumb. He was, it was kind of like a joke, and I drew this little, basically a comic strip, and somehow it got to him. He saw it, and his comment was he thought it was funny, and that really made my day.
I mean, yeah, like he's a legend. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Before you came on, we were discussing like the 2024 election. Like, what do you think
Yeah.
about politics?
I don't think about politics very much, but sometimes I'm forced to because it comes up in conversation like right now. And so the reason why I don't think about politics is that I don't really believe in politicians. And so I know you've interviewed at least one person who had a lot to say about politics, but my reaction is just stop voting for these people. If you want change, then you got to stop voting for them. And as far as taxes go, I recommend democratic taxation so that the government will have guidance of as far as what people want their tax money to go to. And since we have advanced computer systems, we can do that for almost every decision that with these algorithms and everything, yeah, we can determine what people would vote, how people would vote based on their past voting habits. But anyway, that's something that could be done on a more practical level.
I mean, yeah, we were also talking about pop culture, like, like fast food, like which one is better or which one is more terrible.
Fast food?
Yeah.
Like McDonald's?
Well, actually, we were talking about pizza at first, like Chuck E. Cheese and what else were we talking? Like Little Caesars. We were talking about how terrible their pizza is.
Oh, well, I'm only interested in the people that they use as front people, like Ronald McDonald. If you want to talk about him, I could talk about him for a while. Or who else?
What about Grimace?
Huh?
What about Grimace or the Hamburglar?
The what?
I'm trying to think. Who was that other fast food mascot? I forgot who he was. Trying to think. Well, yeah, we can talk about Ronald McDonald. Like he was interesting.
The real person, I think, is more interesting than the the make-believe clown.
Yeah,
his story. There's always some kind of tragedy involved in it.
Mm-hmm. There was tragedy to his story. I mean, I didn't know about him besides the fact that he was in commercials.
He was in commercials, yeah. What about it?
I mean, that's all I know about the Ronald McDonald guy.
Well, just do a search on Google, and you'll be able to read the horrifying story about him. Yeah.
Wow, I mean, I didn't know all that stuff about him, but trying to see. Where are we going? Willard Scott. He says he was played by a guy called Willard Scott.
Willard Scott?
Says he was. Says,
Oh, I heard he died recently.
well, like 2 years ago.
He died 2 years ago?
Yeah, he passed away, but he did a lot of stuff though. Like
Yeah, he
he also
did.
played like Bozo the Clown.
Which clown?
Bozo.
Oh, Bozo. Yeah. Yeah, I remember him.
Do you remember Howdy Doody?
Well, yeah, I have a memory of Howdy Doody. I mean, I never saw him when I was a kid. That was before my time, I guess. But yeah, Howdy Doody he's an icon, or it's an icon, or they are. It's like usually more than one person involved in the creation of that propaganda.
Yeah, you said you had a psychedelic mind, which I find interesting because
Well, yeah, because I have these lucid dreams. And then I started experimenting with African dream herbs and Mexican dream herbs, where you can have a lucid dream while you're awake, and that opened up a lot of possibilities.
oh, wait, have you ever tried Blue Lotus? It's like an Egyptian, like I guess you could call it a psychedelic. Like it's kind of gives you the feeling that ecstasy would, and it also makes you have like real lucid dreams.
Oh yeah, I don't recommend psychedelics that interfere with one's consciousness, but I am attracted to psychedelics that give you control over your consciousness or subconscious. So like LSD, I think is like at the bottom of the barrel, because it's basically playing Russian roulette.
Oh yeah, you can mess yourself up doing too much LSD. That's what happened to Sid Barrett.
Well, that and other things, but yeah, he, um, Jimi Hendrix maybe even worse.
Yeah, Charles Manson, he kind of went off the deep end. Did too much acid. He allegedly heard that in the Beatles song, it was telling him to start a race war or some other crazy stuff. And of course,
Well, Charlie, he had a problem. I mean, yeah, he probably. Well, it was more the people that were following him that didn't know how to handle that kind of drug, and they became very susceptible to Charles Manson's influence. He went around calling himself the god of fuck, and they believed it. So they did anything that he wanted them to do. Then it got to the point where he didn't even have to say anything. So they thought that they were getting signals from him to do certain things, which may or may not have been true.
Yeah, like they say that, once you do psychedelics, you don't look at the world the same way again.
Depends on the psychedelic. Marijuana is a psychedelic, and I don't think it's changed me that much.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the heavy duty stuff, like like ketamine or shrooms or DMT stuff like that can really change your viewpoint.
Well, marijuana is capable of doing as much as any of those. If it's strong enough and if the mind is pliable enough, you can have a psychedelic trip that will take you literally to another dimension.
Yeah, or it makes you think about like interesting stuff, like like someone I someone I know once experimented with CBD, and they said that they listened to Charles Manson's music and they thought in their head in another universe Charles Manson could have been a teen pop star. So that's one example, I guess.
Ah, wow. That's interesting.
I actually haven't seen aliens in the Bay Area yet, so I can't really say. I'm in Daly City though.
Uh, you got to know what to look for because they have a very interesting way of not being seen. Because they can walk among us. Like what happened to me was I was at the Berkeley flea market selling my books and whatnot. And my friend and I, we were just standing there, and right in front of my stand, I had a poster of the Lazar, is it Lazar scout ship, a poster of it. And but that was just by chance. And then I had also a model of a scout ship saucer dangling from a pole. But anyway, we're just standing. It was a nice day, a lot of people around, much more than nowadays. It's almost dead now. But at a distance, I saw this real tall person and like about 7 feet tall. And I said to Anton, I said, Anton, he said, yeah, look at that guy over there. Hold on, the host's unable to receive your request to record. I need your permission your manual permission to record this conversation.
Oh wait, on your behalf or?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Probably it's recording.
Okay, now it's recording, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's recording on behalf, but I believe.
Okay, thank you. So I said, Anton, look at that guy over there. And he says, yeah, what about him? Because he was at a distance coming our way. He said, what about him? I said, look at him. That's an alien. And Anton, he's very logical. Kind of reminded me of Spock. But anyway, he says, well, he is very unusual looking. And so he came up. He was looking around. He was looking up at the sky, this tall person, looking up at the sky, looking at the ground, looking left and right. People were going by him and not really reacting, which I thought was interesting. And even Anton, he probably wouldn't have even said anything, but anyway, he came up to the stand and he looked at me, and then he looked at the poster in front of us. Then he looked at me, then he looked at the poster, and he looked at me again. And then he started doing these weird hand movements, his hands and his arms were going back and forth, and he was going up and down like this, kind of robotic, but definitely it was a organic being. And then his legs were moving back and forth like he was hesitating. He couldn't decide what to do. And he was going like this too, with his torso. And then he just suddenly took off. And then he was going quickly through the aisle away from me. And I said, Anton, I'm going to follow that guy. And I assumed it was a guy. It looked like a guy, sort of. And but when I was looking at him right before he took off, I looked close at his face, and he had sort of like these ridges on the side of his head, going down like that. These ridges, almost like that Worf in Star Trek. And but it was obviously really deep, and it was like a real face. It wasn't a mask. And so I said, I'm going to follow him. So I waited. I stayed like 25 feet behind him, and there was all these people in front of us, in front of me, in between us. And then he got to the BART station, the train station, and I was behind him, and there weren't any more people around. And all of a sudden he spun around and looked at me and stood there and started these weird movements again, like he was trying to decide what to do. And I freaked out because obviously he knew I was following him. So he took off into the train station, and I just freaked out. I wanted to go follow him and say something, but I turned around and walked back.
Wow, that's a great story.
Oh, but that wasn't the weirdest one. We only have a limited amount of time, but
No. Please tell it. We have an additional 30 minutes, so you can.
oh, okay. There were 3 encounters. So the other one that I'm going to tell you about is I was near the same area, near the Berkeley BART station, and I was on my bike, and I was riding toward Ashby Avenue, and there were, it was a nice day, just like the other encounter. Nice day, sunshine. But then I saw this guy, I assumed was a guy, walking on the sidewalk, walking toward me. And again, he was very tall, but much different from the first person. And I looked at him, and judging from the way he was dressed, he looked like a monk or some kind of religious devotee or something. But his clothing was just, it was absolutely amazing to me. And I was on my bike, and I slowed down, and I was looking at his clothes and how tall he was. And he had his clothing from his neck all the way down to his feet. It was sort of gold, a combination of gold and silvery and white, and covered with these, what looked like a combination of Sanskrit and hieroglyphics, a combination. I have like a very good visual. I can really, remember things. Being an artist, I can remember things very in detail. So, and then across, he was wearing a side bag, and it would have the same symbols all over it. And then his hair, he was white, a white guy with blonde hair that went up to a bun like a Buddha. And then on top of that bun was a smaller bun. And then on top of that was an even smaller bun. So it was like this triple thing going up his head. And he was walking, and he was looking at me, and I just, out of respect, I nodded my head like that. And I was going to just ride on, pedal away. But as I got closer to him, he stopped walking, and he was sort of turning as I was about to go past him. He was turning his body to have direct contact with me and to look at me. And I looked at his face, and his face, the first thing I noticed, like, there were no lines, there were no pimples, there was no, I mean, his face looked like it was almost plastic, but it was a real face. And then I looked at his eyes, and he was staring right at me, and he had blue eyes, but the white part was getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And to the point where all I could see was the outline of his iris, the white part, just the outline, and the blue was completely gone. That turned white too. So his eyes were glowing. And as I looked at him, this is all, I was still moving on my bike very slowly. So this all happened very fast. And I was looking at him, and his eyes became so bright, and then they seemed like they were projecting out of his head, just the image of his eyes projecting out of his head and went into my mind. And I could see his eyes inside of my head, like a dream, yeah, or something. And then I got this impression. It was like it wasn't words, but it was just this emotion or something of curiosity. And then I just snapped my head back away. I turned my head away, and because I was about to crash into this parked car, and these cars were driving past me. So I centered my bike and kept moving a little ways up, and then I said, "Oh hell no! I'm not going to let this one get away." So I remember I was thinking that, and I jumped my bike up on the sidewalk, because I had reached the intersection anyway, and I turned around, and he was gone. And I rode my bike right back to the same spot. I couldn't see him anywhere. All there was nearby was a liquor store. So I went into the liquor store and I said, "Did you see some tall guy come in here or walk by?" He said, "Nope." And then the only other place was a restaurant. So I went to the restaurant and I said, did anybody come by here in the last 5 minutes? And they said, "No, it was this young guy and his little brother." And then I said, "Okay." And then I sort of knew their dad, but I went back later to talk to the guy, and I said, "If you see anyone that looks like, tall and everything, let me know." And so a month later, I went back and I said, "Did you see anyone?" And he said, "No, we didn't see anyone like that." And no, he said, "I didn't see anyone like that, but my little brother did." So I talked to the little brother, and I said, "Well, what did you see? I'll pay you for any description, and all that." And he said, "Well, yeah, I saw someone that was tall like that with the hair going up like that. It was at the Buddhist food program that they had on Sunday." And I said, "You did?" And I said, "What was it? Did he have blonde hair and blue eyes and all this?" He said, no, he didn't look like that. But the difference was he wasn't white, he was black. And I said, "Black?" And he said, "Yeah, he was a black man, but he had the hair and he was real tall just like you said, but he was a black man." And I said, "Well, did you look at his eyes?" And he said, "No, I was afraid to." And I said, well, here, I'll pay you something for that. And he said, no, I can't take any money. My dad wouldn't want me to. So that was the end of the story.
Wow. That's so cool.
And so that inspired me to do this book, Strangest Story Ever Told. Strangest Story Ever Told. And that sort of like gets into that whole alien thing. And then I went further. The most recent book is this one called Cosmics. And it's much bigger, but it describes some of that material that I described and some other things.
Wow, man, that's awesome. You know, like I said, I like the art design. It's very colorful.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, so, and there you have it. That's my whole life.
Yeah, we were also earlier having a discussion about, you know, simping, and I made the argument that everybody simps to one degree or another. Like, to one degree or another, everybody sucks up to everybody. You know, like.
Yeah. But I should say one thing that about that whole finish up that alien thing is that people wonder why, well, how come you saw this and nobody else has seen anything? And I say, well, there's some kind of programming going on, because most people, when they see something like that, they just keep walking. And why is that? And I think that it may be some kind of mind control going on, or because one time I saw a guy, he was well known. He wrote a biography of Jack London. He was well known. He would walk the streets of Berkeley, Telegraph Avenue a lot, and everyone sort of ignored him like he wasn't there. But the guy's freaking face was melted. He was in this accident and his face was melted. And people would walk by him like he was an ordinary guy. I think they would purposely ignore him. And I was afraid to say anything to him, because why would I be the guy to talk to this guy? And nobody else does. And one time I followed him around a little bit, and just to see how people's reaction were, and they would sort of like glance at him, but just keep walking, or, you know, don't say anything to him. I found out that guy was very, very lonely. But it was like something out of a horror movie. Even worse, it was real.
Wow, I mean, that sounds crazy. Yeah, Telegraph Avenue, it was known for attracting a lot of colorful people.
That's a colorful way of putting it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like you know, Hate Man, who he passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I met him. I was confused by him. they had to translate what he was telling me so I could understand what he wanted me to do. All he wanted me to do was to say, I hate you. But that was just, it blew a fuse in my head, you know. I got so confused. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you know, like, man, I'm trying to think, who was that comic book artist? You know, he's homeless and he was on Telegraph Avenue. I forgot his name, but
Ace Backwards?
yeah, him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made like a calendar of Telegraph Avenue.
Yeah, Bruce Duncan wanted me to be in that calendar, but he insisted, he wanted to do a photo of me at the free meal program that was at the church indoors. And I said, I don't want to be in a picture of me in this place. I don't really, I hardly ever come to this thing. Why can't we go outside? Why can't we do something a little more interesting? But he insisted that I be, among these street people. And I wasn't really a street person, but it kind of like the photograph would say that I am in a way, and I didn't want to do that. And that was the only thing he wanted to do. And so I never was I was always on the outside of all that stuff anyway. I was always the outsider. So yeah.
I mean,
But anyway, there's so much going on now that there's so many different things to talk about. It's amazing that people can get bored. I don't understand that. Even in conversations, even online, on Facebook, everything, it's like, it's not like the way I grew up, where I don't know, it just seems strange. So I guess that means it's almost time for me to go away now.
What future
but
projects are you working on?
we're out of time.
No. I'm just curious. What future projects are you working on?
I was going to mention that. Do you know anything about Afrofuturism?
A little bit.
Well, that's what people are, people like Black people that I can talk to. They're kind of into that. So my take on that is that they say it kind of began with people in the 50s, some of the jazz artists. Sun Ra comes to mind, and I often wondered if he really thought that he was from some other planet. But anyway, it continued on. I'm kind of like exploring that in my new book. People like Jimi Hendrix and Grace Jones, and then that science fiction writer, the Black science fiction writer. I can't think of her name right now. I haven't read any of her books, so she hasn't really.
Butler.
Yeah, that's the one.
And then Samuel Delaney too.
Yeah, sure. So I thought about it, and I thought Afrofuturism seems like it's stuck in time somewhere. It's not the future. What is the future is that it has to evolve. And my idea is for it to evolve into Black futurism, because Black futurism isn't focused so much on Afro-American culture. Black futurism can also incorporate the Aborigines and other races that are Black, but not necessarily directly from Africa or rooted in Africa's culture. So, but then I thought, but that's where it could lead, but then there's something beyond that. And beyond Black futurism is natural futurism. And natural futurism involves a concept that would incorporate science and other cultures and other, everything becomes, in other words, it's no longer necessarily just science fiction. It can incorporate nature, but nature becomes like on a mystical level, so that nature and science fiction and science and all these influences and cultural influences can unite. And I think the world would be better off if we can evolve ourselves to the point where there is no the fantasy becomes reality, and it'll be a much better world. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I wonder, have you heard about the Black Panther movies? Because that's kind of like Afrofuturism.
The Black Panthers, yeah. There's some things I know I wish I could like get into with you, but it would take a lot of time because I was kind of involved in that. I've been involved in a lot of different movements and religions and so forth, the Hare Krishnas, the Catholics, the Protestants, witchcraft, sorcery, Aleister Crowley, all the fun stuff. So, but, since I graduated from politics into reality, I sort of left a lot of that behind.
Yeah, I'm feeling you. I think I'm the same way. Like,
the revolution is real. The revolution is real, but it goes beyond politics. It's a revolution of the mind. And once you get to that point where you realize who you are and what you're here for, then that's the true revolution. Because once everyone knows that they've been brainwashed into thinking that they're not all that there is, they are all, they're part. We were born in the image and likeness of God, but as soon as you start talking God talk, people think that you're crazy and a megalomaniac.
I mean, yeah, I think on the same way. Like, I've recently lost all interest in politics. It just seems like it's a waste of time. It's like, at the end of the day, I mean, who cares? It's like, are you going to have like a political convention in your graveyard? Nope. So you only get one chance at it. So who cares?
Yeah, well, there you go. You got the essence. And like we as a society and as a civilization, we can't afford much longer to let bullies run the world and destroy everything in their path in order to have control and power. So we got to stop cooperating and letting them run things. There's no more voting. Voting is not enough. Obviously, voting doesn't work. That just continues the pattern that keeps them in power. Oh, I vote for him because he's a Democrat or a Republican or independent, but you're still cooperating. People got to stop cooperating and start taking responsibility on a mass level. No more business as usual.
I mean, yeah, people got to take responsibility. Like, politicians are not going to solve all your problems. Like, I cringe when I see these people. They treat politicians like they're their friends or something. It's like Joe Biden is not coming to your barbecue at your family reunion. He doesn't care about you. Like, people always say, "Oh, I could have a beer with that guy." It's like, no, you couldn't. He's way too high up. You think he's gonna have a beer with some random guy who lives in a trailer park? Hell no.
Yeah. So, well, golly, I mean, there, in this book, this latest book, so that this guy, he becomes, there's this kid, he's like the typical Berkeley student. Originally, in my original story, he was called The Student, and I made it into a graphic novel. But the book is based on called The Last American Novel. Was a graphic novel, but it was an actual novel that just was illustrated. That was back in 1985, which is, I think I have, yeah, here it is.
Wow.
Last
Nice.
American Novel. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, so what happens is he, at the end of time, at the end of the universe, after Kali devours the universe and there's nothing but nothing, this same person who was this kid, in a Berkeley student, he survives, he goes through all these different experiences, the 7 wonders of the universe. And at the end, his consciousness somehow survives the destruction of the universe, and he comes through it, and then his consciousness is reborn in another universe. So in the previous universe, when he was a student at Berkeley, he was this white kid. But in the new universe, he's this black kid or baby, and he has this memory of being a white guy in the previous universe. And he has all these thoughts from the previous universe, but all the people in the new universe are black. And so they're wondering why he's acting like this strange person. Why is he trying to get us to do all these things that the white people did in the other universe that are foreign and, you know, that have nothing to do with the new universe but this kid, he looks at himself and he's black. He's no longer white, he's black now. So he's kind of confused, you know. It's like, what if you were a white guy born in a black universe? So he's kind of like a stranger in a strange land, and or the man who fell to the black earth. But anyway, so they have to decide what to do about this guy, because he has these strange ideas about money. I mean, what is this money you keep talking about? And, you know, Jesus, you know, he's thinking, well, we need a Jesus to come and send. No, what is this Jesus you keep talking about? All these things from the past. And he thinks he should perhaps bring them to the new earth, the black earth. And I don't know, I can't really say what's going to happen to this guy. They may just string him up or something.
Yeah, that sounds like that blaxploitation movie that they had in the 80s. I don't know what it's called, like The Last American Brother or something. Like this black man becomes like an alien. I mean, no, it's an alien that becomes like a black dude in America.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's my take on Afrofuturism.
I mean, that's awesome, you know.
All right. Ray, thank you for being on.
Oh yeah, and hey, am I still on?
Yes.
Don't forget Cosmic Brain Trust on Facebook if you want to join our group.
All right.
Okay.
This was brought to you by pilleater.substack.com. as well as youtube.com/Pilleater. This was recorded on February 2nd, 2022 or 2023, February 2nd, 2023.